Yo, 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 everybody. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the What Now podcast. Spencer and Zach on our Dolo cast action. What is up, bro? How are you doing?
What's up? What's up, dude? Just chilling with my dogs. They're asleep on the floor, which is always fun.
My dog is also, she didn't know I was here, and then she heard me talking, so now she's super excited
Very excited.
to see me swinging her tail.
Love
Um,
that.
that's good, dude. How are you, bro? Happy February, February 2025, first week, this recording.
Yeah.
Dude, how was January? How's the year starting off for you?
January was really good. A lot of moving pieces to January. We had the moving on from a long-standing employee. We crushed conversions. A lot of good things happening. Bringing on new office staff. A lot of fun stuff. Question: What's up with everyone saying like January was super long? Did I don't know if
It was 5 weeks.
I know, but like everyone was like, "Oh, January's finally over." I'm like,
Dude, I don't know, bro. I felt like January flew by, bro. We had,
yeah,
record month in collections on January.
let's go.
Signed a lease on a new office space. So if you guys have been tuning into the show for a bit, my dream has always been to have like a health and wellness center. And we just signed a lease on a 3,000 square foot office that will hold us, functional medicine, and pelvic floor PT. And
Nice.
so it's pretty sick, dude. I'm excited. We're going to deem it the Argyle Family Wellness Center and market it as that. And
Nice.
I'm super stoked, dude. So
That's really exciting.
January was great, dude. I mean, I think,
The pelvic floor PT was news to me.
yeah, that was news to us too. Somebody just reached out to us. But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit because I think it's a good lesson for me to learn that I'm learning right now, just to kind of, for us to share. We'll kind of see how it all plays out in a couple weeks. You know, you guys will get an update, but the current situation is that I'm signed into a 3-year lease, and my landlord currently was saying like, hey, you can get out of this lease if you find somebody to take your spot. Well, the place that we're moving into, it was going to go on the market, and there's not a lot of commercial space around here. And so before it went on the market,
It's eating that fast.
we signed the lease. Yeah. So right now I'm paying 2 leases, and that's like a pretty penny, dude. Like in Texas, you know, I mean, real estate's it's okay, but we're paying close to like 10K in just monthly rent right now. But the reason we're doing that is because of the opportunity cost, right? And so, right, like for us, the opportunity is just more, it's more important to seize the opportunity to get the new space. We'll find somebody else to take our spot whenever it happens, and it'll happen pretty soon. I'm pretty sure of it. But that's kind of like the biggest lesson is like, you know, like we can either like sit and hold our money and just wait and not want to spend the extra couple $1,000s on the second rent. But we figured that it would be more of a bottle cap to our office to miss this opportunity. So have you ever had that happen to you in your business thus far?
In regards to like opportunity costs, yes and no. I mean, we had struck a deal early on with a local gym that they were like, hey, we have other chiropractors interested, but we only want to have one chiropractor. And it was only like, it was very small. It was like 200 a month. I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just lock that in. But I mean, a lot of those patients that we have met and that have come in from that gym are still coming in. They're some of our best patients. So I would say that like they're like, take action now. And we did. And I didn't like have FOMO about it. There's definitely been moments on the opposite side where it's like, take action now. And then didn't go through with it. And then just recently, we have been in similar discussions where I've always wanted multiple practitioners, not like an integrated practice or anything like that, but just with the people we see and consistently referring to massage therapists or recovery specialists or whatever that might be. And massage therapists move and leave and they're all over the place. And so I'm like, let me find a really good one, bring them in-house. So we're renovating our office as well to prep for a sublease basically out of our office for a potential massage therapist, recovery specialist. That way people can treat it almost as a one-stop shop and not have to be driving everywhere.
I've never heard of the term recovery specialist. What is it? What is it?
You know, I hadn't either, but I was talking with a guy. I don't know fully the difference, but from my understanding, recovery specialists are more personal trained, if you will. like they've come from that realm, and they do like gua sha and cupping and
Like soft tissue specialist.
soft tissue. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I
That's pretty
yeah
cool. How's that business model going to work? Are you going to like just straight up sublease and it's like separate businesses? Or are you going to say
yeah
like
yeah. So
contractor?
it'll be sublease. And then pending the agreement, there might be profit split, but I really would prefer them to handle all their scheduling, have autonomy over that space, and then pay me just a flat fee each month.
Dude, I think that's like, I mean, that's kind of how we're going about it. Like we have these two people that'll be subleasing from us, and it's like, dude, like let them do their business, bro. Like
Yeah.
you're making like it's helping you driving more traffic into your location, and it like then now you're not responsible for their marketing, and you're also saving a ton of money in your overhead. And it's like that recurrent, like I would rather save like $2,000 or $3,000 in recurring fee than like 1 month get $500 and the next month get $1,100 and all that
Right.
stuff. And it's like,
Right.
dude, it should just be like a win-win situation, I think.
Especially with, I mean, I think it's a win-win-win, right? So like we get the win, we get the well, like in a threefold sense, because like we get the win in subleasing our space and getting that overhead back, right? They get the win because now they're private practice, basically not working for Massage Envy, and they can dictate their schedule. And then it's also a win for our patients because now they're not running all over town. So
Yeah.
win-win-win.
I just think it's funny because Kayla and I have been watching The Office, and there's where Michael, he talks about like, he's like, we can do win-win, we could do win-lose, we could do lose-lose, but he's like, but what I really want is win-win-win. I want you to win. He's like, I want both of you guys to win, but he's like, my win is whatever I can help mediate you guys win. So win-win-win. Pull her out. So
Call me the Michael Scott. Michael Scott character.
I mean, that would be so wild, bro. Like, I think it's so funny to watch The Office and watch him like run this business now that I run a business. And like sometimes like I'm like, man, I've actually done that before. Like
I love when he just like has a tough day, closes the blinds, locks the door, and just takes a nap. Like, yep.
Do you feel that?
Been there.
Okay, well, speaking of doors, I think like this is like, what, like in terms of like a lot of these situations, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but Steph talks a lot about it in her coaching. And I think it's Jeff Bezos that talks about this, but the one-way versus the two-way door opportunities. Do you know what I'm talking about? No. So when it comes to decisions, making decisions in your business, it's thinking of them as like a one-way or a two-way door. It's like, can you go back from this or can you not? Right. Basically.
Okay.
And that's kind of like how you weigh out your decisions. Like, when it comes to like subleasing the office or something like bringing a massage therapist in, it's like he basically says that like people spend a lot of time and have a lot of hesitation around two-way decisions, meaning like, man, like I don't know if I should like, I don't know when I'm ready. Like, I don't know if I should raise my prices. Dude, I think that's like probably the biggest one that I hear people talking about is like, I don't know when I'm going to raise my prices when I do some financial analysis. Dude, what is raising your prices going to do besides make you more money, give you more freedom, and help you invest back into your practice? Like raising your prices is never going to be a bad thing. If you're like, even if you quadruple your prices, you're still going to have people that stay on. Mm-hmm. And then now those people are paying you 4 times the money. So like there is no negative to ever raising your prices. Like I think that especially we as chiropractors be like, oh man, like I really don't want to charge too much when like it costs $120 or $150, sometimes $200 just for the HVAC guy to come and look. Dude, I paid at what I tell the story all the time about raising prices, but one time I paid for this HVAC company to come because my air conditioner in the suite stopped working. I paid $200 for a service call plus an hourly rate of $50 an hour for this guy to come out with AirPods in his ears, look at my thermostat and go, dude, it's hot in here. Air conditioner's not working. Somebody's gonna have to come take a look at that. I'm like, bro, you are somebody.
You are the guy.
I called you to come and look at it because I had the same conversation that you just had. And he was like, yes, that's $220 right there. And I'm like, oh yeah, and this is when I was charging $99 or for initial visits. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, we're $200 today, yeah. $200. And So, dude, I think like that's like a two-way door, dude. Like, because you can always go and change it, bro. Because like you can do that. Same thing with your website copy. Same thing
Hmm.
with your office layout, dude. Like that's the thing too. Is
Yeah,
like I think
like
it's great that you're doing that. Like
we
it's
just changed our office layout too. Like patients have been walking in all week. They're like looking around. Where do I sit? It's so fun. It's funny when you because we do see people on such a consistent rhythm. It's been so interesting that there are so many patients. Like our old office layout was basically we had open adjusting, and then behind where I was adjusting was like the waiting room, if you will. So it was like
really
tucked back behind. So it was like kind of awkward. I didn't realize it was awkward because I don't think like I'm a guy, so I didn't like think it was awkward. But like if a girl's getting adjusted and there's like two dudes sitting there, there's like
looking at her butt.
yeah, I'm like oh that's not good.
I could see how that is a thing.
Yeah. Um, and so I was like, should I just go to like should I just abandon open bay? Should I like install some walls so it's just like private room adjusting? And then one day I was talking with my office manager. And she was like, "What if you just move the chairs to the front of the office?" I was like, "You know what? It's an interesting concept you bring up. never thought of that." And we just moved the 4 or 5 chairs to a different spot. But it's so funny watching people walk in and they're like, "Where'd the chairs go?" I'm like they're right next to you. I just sit down.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it like we make it so complicated, and I think we do so many things. Like even with like hiring employees, like especially in your contract, like you should have like a probationary period, being like, hey, at the end of 3 months, like we'll sit down and we'll have a discussion on like, do we like this or not? And like they can always leave, dude. Like, I mean, that's the thing is
Mhm.
like you're hiring an employee is like not a one-way door. Like you're not stuck like there, right there. Like
Mhm.
moving this office, like if we give up the lease in our current space because we'd be moving total buildings and stuff, like I really don't even feel like that's a one-way door because like, dude, I mean, I can always find another spot. Like, changing
Mhm.
like your office name, like, I mean, I really don't even think that that's even like that big of a deal. Like if you change your branding or like change your name or something like
Mhm.
that, like that's really not going to people care more about your reputation than they do, I think, than like your name and stuff. But I think a lot of times as chiropractors, like we really make small problems big problems, but we minimize big
Mhm.
problems, like those kind of things. Like I think in terms of a lot of our systems, what are some of the things that you feel like you spent like a long time like mulling over, where at the end of the day, after they changed or they didn't change, you're like, it's not even that big of a deal.
I mean, what we just talked about doing that renovation, I was in my head like the only renovation I've done to my office is what we did initially. That was like 20 grand worth of TI improvements and everything like that. So I was like, oh man, like I don't want to have a contractor come out here. And the last contractor I dealt with, like he had 3 teeth and it was just a pain in the butt. Like he didn't do half the stuff. I just had to remind him to do things. Um, and then one of my longtime patients was like, yeah, I mean, I own a contracting company. We're like listed like Better Business Bureau, like been in business for 20 years. Sends a guy out, comes, I ask, hey, can we meet at 3:30? He's there at 3:25. Takes us 5 minutes, sends me the invoice or like the projection the next day. Doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And I'm like, man, I've been putting this off for probably a year now, just because I was afraid to even get a quote on what it would cost. And so that was one thing I just mulled over for way too long, trying to figure out how to navigate that. And then I was like, well, like, do I bring in a massage therapist or a counselor? I'm like, you know what? Let me just have the space open so that when and if the right person shows up, they can move right in.
Dude, I think for me, like I kick the tire a lot on like hiring Steph, dude. And like I talk to a bunch of people and they're always just like, dude, I don't know if I want to spend the money on this or anything like that. Dude, like at the end of the day, like you'll make that money back. But if you even get 1% better, it's worth that investment. Like I think like that's why, dude, it's a no-brainer for me to go to seminars. Like it's a no-brainer for me to buy courses like Callan's course, like I mean, okay, let's be real, dude. Like a lot of these courses are not cheap. Like in school, like you think like, oh man, like it's gonna be like $200-300, but like
Nowadays.
Callan's AI course is $1,500 and it's awesome, but it is worth every single penny, dude. Like I've saved so much time and saved so much time in the office and everything for $1,500. Like that's one time. That's like less than most of your employees' paychecks that you're gonna send out. Like So I mean, like that's like one thing that like, dude, if you're like really on the fence of like buying courses and stuff, like just pull the trigger. Like you're not gonna regret it. Like I always had this saying in school when I went to buy seminars and stuff, like you never have the money to spend, but you never regret that you do either. And I think like especially in terms of like investing in yourself, like it really is a thing. What are some things that you think that people really should give a lot of thought to before like that they don't typically think about a ton?
Well, that's a great question. I'm very much I'm the easy sell in our, like in between me and Morgan's relationship. Like I'm the person like, yeah, I'll just pay that right now. So that's hard for me to say. I don't often like think too much about stuff. I don't know. Is there something that comes to mind for you? Like,
Yeah, I mean the first thing that comes to mind for me is like um that like I think that people like really just kind of like sign up for before like looking at a lot of their options are EHRs, dude. Like I think that a lot of people sign up for EHRs just being like, yeah, this is what I used in my internship, or this is what my other friends use, or
you don't gotta come at me that hard.
what you mean, bro?
Well, I just picked my EHR based off what we were using at my internship.
Well, that's like good if it's comfortable for you, but I think the biggest thing like that comes to the EHR is like what do you want out of it, right? Like
Yeah.
like everybody knows that you need it, but it's like I think that we should like I sat down and I did a demo with every one of like the major EHR companies and I just
Mhm.
picked the one that I felt like would fit my workflow the best. Like that's why
Right.
we use Jane. We use Jane because it like fits our needs the best, not because it's the prettiest or it's the this is what all the cash practices are using or all that kind of stuff. And like
Mhm.
I think a lot of people just sign on to a lot of those things, but I think that you should have like an idea of what you want out of your back end systems before you do that, just because and like solely for the fact of like when you, I mean, you switch to EHRs, like when you do switch EHRs, it takes so much time and effort, but that takes a lot of energy that is going to take away from your practice. It's still not like really in that like one way door category because you really just transfer all the data, but it takes so much work to get to change
Yeah,
that like
it's not as like when you do sit down with these demos and you're like, yeah, we'll transfer everything over for you. You're like, oh, great. I can use this new HR tomorrow. And it's just, at least for us, it was not the case.
I think that just goes for like a majority of softwares, like because it's the same thing. Like I've demoed Go High Level so much, and I've demoed like a ton of other EHRs, and HubSpot works the best for me because it seems like it's going to be the long term play. Like
Mhm.
it takes care of my needs like the most because it's like it's task management, it's email marketing, it's data analytics, it's financial analytics, it's all of the things in one. It just seems like, you know, it just is something that I can kind of grow into, especially with your software. I would say like think about where you want to grow your business. Like if you
Mhm.
don't want to see high volume and you just want to have like a boutique practice and stuff, then like a really simple EHR like will be good. But like if you really like are it's just the thing, dude, is like how many for me it's always how many clicks do I have to do to get something done?
Mhm.
Like if I have to put a lot of input into it as I grow, I'm not going to want to do that a ton. It's just going to
Right.
create more and more work. It's decreasing your friction. So I think a lot of people just like sign up for those EHRs like way too fast.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's one for me that was a personal experience. And I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I think you can different aspects. Like my biggest hobby, if you will, like the thing I spend the most amount of time on other than my business and like with Morgan is being at the gym. And so when I initially got into practice, I was like, what's the cheapest gym I can join? And I joined it and it was great for the time being. But as I was starting to evolve as a person, I really, they'd be closed on random days. There, certain things were just broken for a long time. And so I started to resent going to the gym. And that's like, if I don't go to the gym at least 5 times a week, like I'm not a good person. And so for probably a year, I was like, I really want to switch to Lifetime. I really want to switch to Lifetime. But to go from $20 a month to $175 a month is a steep, steep jump. Uh, but then Morgan was like, the only thing you do is go to the gym. Like you don't, like you're not like buying guns, like you're not buying whiskey, like that's your hobby. Like so spending 175 to be there 5 times a week, like it's where I shower, it's where I do a lot of networking, and that's where everyone in my town is at working out. And so I've met some really like big names in the area, but I sat there for a year resenting where I currently was because I wanted to be where I wanted, like, because I wanted to be somewhere else. And I wish I had made that decision much, much sooner. And I think a lot of people can relate to that in some aspect, not necessarily the gym you're going to, but yeah.
One of the things that also comes to mind, like on the same thing, is I think that like choosing your payment processor really wisely is really smart. Like I was not in the I was not the most aware business owner at first, which is like really the whole reason I think why Zach and I have this podcast is try to just like make you aware of the things that like we have been doing as we've been building our businesses. And payment processors, I think, are like a really big one to consider because your payment processor is going to be how you get paid and where you take all your money. But it's just like your EHR and it stores all of your customers' payment information. Dude, you could pay a lot of money to like really like pay out like a ton of money for these payment processors if you aren't interviewing enough people. And you want something that's going to be like really easy to log into your EHR. And because it's really tough to not have all of your patient data reconciled. So it's like, you don't want to have to keep a separate ledger because it's just more things for you to track. But really, like, you're going to pay so much. Like I was paying this one payment processor. I think whenever we were doing like $20 a month, and we were paying like close to like $3,000 a month in payment processing fees and all of those things like percentages and credit card fees and transaction fees and all of that stuff. And then one of my friends actually has a merchant company, and I was talking to him, and he was like, dude, I have this. Let me look at your rates. And he's like, dude, did you know about this and this and this and this and this? And I had no idea like how involved like the payment processing world is. What I learned though is that there's a lot of security measures that your payment processor should be going through. And if you have a good payment processor, like now I think we pay on our like $60,000 collections like $2,000 a month. So in payment collection fees. And so like you can save a ton of money and become really profitable a lot sooner if you understand like what you're actually paying in transaction fees. Because like if you charge $1 but you're only getting 50 cents versus if you charge $1 and you're getting 93 cents, like that's a big difference in the amount of money that you're collecting. And so Zach's dog also agrees.
Yeah, Blues. There's a frick ton of dogs barking in our neighborhood right now, so I apologize to those listening that hear this squeaks.
But yeah, I think that's like the big thing, like just paying too much in payment processing fees, because like you gotta pay somebody to like get paid anyway. But if you're just signed up with whoever is integrated with your EHR, if that makes it easier, then it may be worth taking the payment. But like it just saves a ton of money, dude. Like I think that's like a big thing. And if you're like, oh, I don't know how to get profitable, that's like a really easy way, like cut down on your payment processing fees. Obviously you can charge more, you can decrease your overhead, you can not be over leveraged in team, but it's nice when you charge the same, but you just make more. So, and dude, switching payment processors, we've switched twice now. Dude, it takes so long to do that too, because you have to manually enter all of that information. So if you get a good one right out of the gate that you're comfortable with the rates that you can grow with, I think that's also like super important.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you feel like you ever kicked the tire like on anything? Being like, man, dude, I don't know, like what? I don't know if we should do this. I don't know if we should do that.
I mean, we kicked the tire on patch for a long time too.
Yeah.
I for one didn't know if it was like open to people. But I mean, you had been using it since basically December of 23 or like start of 2024.
Yeah.
And every week we'd talk about how great patch was doing for you. And I'd be like, man, I should look into that. And then I didn't start with them until November of last year. So I kicked around for like 8 or 9 months. And because of the work they do, it's not like you start with them in 1 month and it's like, that's a lot of back end SEO type stuff. And so it takes a second. And so the more you kick that around, just the longer you're delaying that gratification, if you will, and not in a good sense.
Yeah, dude, I've been listening to Jeremy's podcast, actually, dude. It's really good. Like, if you really want to learn about, like, how back-end marketing and stuff works, like, it really is a thing, dude. I mean, like, just think about, like, okay, so this is the thing, is, like, the internet is just a big online community of people. And when you were networking, right, if you guys open your business, like, if you've been networking you know that like you don't just show up to a networking group and then like you get like a massive amount of patients. But the more consistently that you nurture that networking group, that you show up, that you get to know people, dude, then everybody becomes like patients, right? And so I think we look at online marketing of like, I just put my website out there and I just start getting patients. But I think it's really the same, dude. You have to nurture Google, like to teach it how to find you. You have to drive website traffic. You have to prove that you're relevant. You have to continue to show up. Like market, I mean, getting people to buy anything, it's like dating, dude. Like you can't just be like, here, take this, here, take this. Like you have to nurture them into that relationship. And I think it's all the same, but we put too high expectations onto digital marketing, thinking that we're going to do that because that's what we're being sold by a lot of these like big agencies, because they'll just get you a ton of clicks, but they won't actually get people in your door. And so that's where I think Patch like really has leverage, is over the long time. And so like, I mean, if you're having a tough time getting your first patient in the door anyway, you don't need to hire a marketing agency. You need to work on your product and your messaging. But yeah, I think that's like a big like misplaced expectation on Patch or any marketing agency, is that like you just turn it on and get a ton of patients. It's not like that, dude. It's a thing that helps build your practice. It's the same way, dude, with like hiring an associate. I think that like a lot of doctors hire associates, and like we don't have an associate, but I have brought Caitlin on as another doctor. And, you know, I think that like we just expect to be like, okay, well now I have an extra set of hands, and so I should be doing a lot more work, dude. It's like, you really don't, dude. You have to nurture that person into your culture. And so, yeah, dude, I mean, I think we as business owners should really just right size our expectations and like not be trying to get rich quick on the things that we're investing in. But I think the biggest thing that holds people back is that we think of a lot of these investments as expenses. Oh, I can't hire Steph because, well, she's too expensive. Right. But like, dude, like hiring in a coach is literally like putting money in a vending machine where you put $1 in and get $10 out, dude. Like if somebody told me like, hey, bro, like you had to like, hey, it's going to cost you $50,000, but you'll make an extra $300,000. If you put it into that perspective, then like, dude, of course I would do that. Right. But I think that we're slow to invest as business owners because we get just very misery, especially like, because we don't want to give other people our money. And that's a whole nother topic, dude. But yeah, you got to look at your things and say like, is this an investment or is this an expense? Like, dude, our new rent on our new building is like close to quadruple what we're paying right now. But it's like, this gives us so many more opportunities. Like, we can see more families, we can have more providers, we can hire other doctors, we can be there long-term. Like, this is an investment in the future. It's not an expense. The same thing with the furniture, dude. Like, we're probably going to put like 50 grand into furniture and decorating and stuff because it's an investment in the atmosphere there. And I think that like, you have to get into an investor's mentality. Like the SME 500, like Alex Hormozy says, dude, like don't put that money into stocks, dude, because like you're a chiropractor, you're a doctor, you're a provider, like you give like true value and you have a business that's going to actually make you income. So, but you got to take that money and put that back into yourself versus like just holding on to it. Like, what are you going to do with it, dude? Like,
yeah,
you know, so anyway, you got anything else to add, bro?
I think I'm good. I think I'm good on that.
Nice.
But I think like just like that last thing, and it's been a very relevant thing I've been seeing on social media, just like hearing, and it's probably just something I'm more attuned to at the moment. But the people that are wealthy, or like the people you hear on podcasts or read books about those sort of things, one thing they all typically have in common is that they just make decisions way faster than their competitors, and that's something I'm really trying to embrace, is how quickly I move on a decision. And I think that's the big idea of this episode is just move faster with your decisions and don't think on them over and over and over again.
Well, like, I think you should have enough information to get a decision.
Right.
Like, I think that's two different things. Making a decision out of ignorance because you're being sold. Like, this is the thing, dude. Like, if you're, okay, let's just take okay, when you go and someone comes to you and tries to ask you to buy a magazine ad,
go ask people that have been in practice for longer than you, not just your other friend who's the same magazine that is in the town over just came to.
Well, I say that you should do it because I think it's a rite of passage to have to
It is a rite of passage
to have to invest in a magazine ad. Do it. That's a Matt Morris quote. It's just it's a rite of passage to pay for a magazine. But anyway, but like when somebody comes in and doing that, is like, dude, you're gonna advertise a ton and all that stuff, and like look at all these homes you're gonna get in front of, and then like you get in this recurring thing. You don't really have a ton of information. You're being sold, and if you don't want to feel like a salesman in your report of findings, your whole job is just to give people enough information for them to make a decision for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're doing a good job at giving people information, they should basically just be like, okay, great. Like, let's just go and let's start the care plan. Let me sign up for wellness. Let me get my other family member on. Like, you should just give them enough information. But if you're not doing that, then you have to try to emotionally coerce them to do that. And so like in your business, if you're like, well, I know that I need this, I know what it costs, I know that it's going to help, then do it. But if you don't have enough information, that's something that you should be like, well, let me go get some more information on that. Let me make a decision. So, but once you do have that information, dude, it's time to make a move. Like, don't just like wait on it until it feels right or whatever. Like, it feels right if you have enough information. You say the answer is obviously yes. So, but anyway, guys, yeah, the action is the thing that creates movement. And so if you're trying to make some moves in your business, just take action. Like listening to this podcast. Peace.